Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are back with another video, and this is the last of all the videos about currency correlations. So we decided to choose the USD pairs for this video of correlations, and we used only the major. So they were US New Zealand, AUD, the pound, and the euro. So this is going to be our last of the series of correlations. So without wasting any time, let's jump right into it, guys. So we are starting with the major, which is New Zealand USD. And if you can see the entire month of August, from August till 25th, we are using that as the example. We can pull from the previous data also, but we are going to start with the entire month of August up to 25th. As you can see, we have New Zealand breaking the support right there and confirming a continuation of the downward trend that had already started, because it was already confirmed from this break of structure. Retested below the support twice, broke the support again, so it was a continuation of a downward trend. Now from August, the beginning of the month, the support was broken, and you can see a continuation of the downward trend. You can see those impulse moves I have labeled in red circles, and you can see those ranges I have labeled in green color. And this is so far the entire month of August. Now if we look at all the other currencies, we have already divided them, whereby New Zealand Canadian, New Zealand Swiss francs, and New Zealand JPY, those are the currencies that have a positive correlation with the New Zealand USD. And these other three, which is New Zealand AUD New Zealand, Euro New Zealand, and GBP New Zealand, these are the ones that have a negative correlation. Remember, correlation is simply where the prices of these pairs move in the same direction. So positive, when they go up, they all go up, and negative of these three pairs, when this goes up, all these three are bound to go down. So in the example we are looking at right now, we are looking at a New Zealand USD, which is the major, in a downward trend. Now we have to see if these three, which have New Zealand as the base currency, they have to be in the same downward trend. So let's see New Zealand Canadian. I've already plotted the entire month of August with a trend in yellow, which you can see clearly that this is a pretty good trend. Now we have these supply zones where you can notice a good entry confirmation. Now this entire candle like this is showing a pretty good confirmation of a supply zone, as you can see right there. Now you can look to the previous candle right here. It was a really good supply zone, as you can see from all along, and this was a pretty confirmation of a super strong push to the downward side, and this could have been a good entry point. Normally me as I as of one, I don't trade New Zealand pairs, but if you do the analysis, they are also pretty good. But normally I do analysis of New Zealand pairs only in the 4-hour chart. You could ask me what the reason is, but New Zealand, if you go into the lower time frames, there is a lot of pullbacks on the New Zealand pairs. So for that reason only, I try to stay away from them, because I really want straightforward moves in the market. But if you go into a professional analysis, all the pairs are always good. If you try to analyze properly, all pairs can create good opportunities. And right here in our 4-hour chart, we can, for example, look at a short position right here on New Zealand. And if you try to factor in all the next possible take profits right there, that's a 1-to-1, straight up 1-to-1. And if you can see, the price went straight up till you can even hit a 1-to-2 or 1-to-3. I think it was a 1-to-2 opportunity right there. So all pairs have good opportunities. So let's look at another pair, which is going to be New Zealand Swiss francs, and we are hoping that it has a positive correlation, as we know that New Zealand is the base currency. And as you can see, I've already plotted right there all the moves. and we are looking at, there are some impulse moves in the market. For example, we are seeing an impulse move right here. Let's label it in a red, try to put a background there. So this is an impulse move in the market, and we're seeing another impulse move at the beginning of the month. Now these two impulse moves, they have to be, if a currency has a correlation, it means this impulse moves. For example, this is a let's see, 1 2 3 4 5, this is a 20-hour move to the downward side. So this is an impulse move, these two and this one. There is 3 impulse moves in the entire downward trend. If we look at New Zealand, can we find these impulse moves? So let's first pull back a little bit here. We can see at the beginning of the month the impulse moves we had talked about there. And if we try to look at in the beginning and the middle of the month, we can see that impulse move again. And we try to look here in between these two ranges, there is another impulse move. Okay, let's try to clear out these ranges so that we can see properly. So we have 3 impulse move right there. We can even add in a small one here, which is 12 hours. So this was straight to the beginning of 8th of August, opening of Asian session, till in the middle or the close of Asian session, and in the middle of London session on 8th of August. There was a good entry there also. So you can see this impulse move are similar to the impulse move you see on a New Zealand Swiss francs. So this is a clear indication of a very good positive correlation. And if you look at New Zealand JPY, we can see the same impulse moves. So guys, this is very clear that you have a positive correlation and it can always work in your favor. So do the smart analysis and try to focus on the major currency, which is New Zealand USD. So the other pairs that have New Zealand as their base currency, they will be easy to analyze if you really understand the technicals of New Zealand and the fundamentals. So let's look at the other 3 currencies that have a negative correlation. So in this case, these 3 currencies, which is AUD New Zealand, Euro New Zealand, and the Pound New Zealand, these 3, at least we have to see them in a negative correlation, which means they are going to be moving up in an upward trend, and we'll have to see these impulse moves that we see on the major currency, which is New Zealand USD. So let's try and look at AUD New Zealand. So where are those impulse moves? We are looking at the beginning of the month with some impulse moves there. Let's see. So this was, for example, let's plot a trend line right here. So okay, let's first plot it properly. So let's put it in blue color, dotted lines. Okay, right there. So this was an impulse move. This was an impulse push to the downward side to the beginning of August right there. So if we look at the beginning of August, we are seeing this impulse move. That is number 1. Let's try to put them in green for a good psychology of an upward trend. If we look here, we are seeing some really strong push to the upward side right there. If we look here, we are seeing another strong push to the upward side. Let's try and see where these dates fall within the major currency, which is New Zealand USD. So this is the beginning of August. We have a lot of push to the upward side, as you can see here and here. So this is going to be between August 2nd and 3rd. If we look at New Zealand USD, we can see the beginning, straight from the beginning of August till 3rd, we have a big impulse move. And we got New Zealand. Let's try to push New Zealand here. We go to New Zealand. We are seeing that push on 3rd. We are seeing a push to the upward side, but it was a little bit small there. So let's come back to New Zealand. We see another push around 8th and around 10th. And on AUD New Zealand, we are seeing a push at around 8th till 11th. We are seeing that same push. So we try to go back on New Zealand and look at between 16th and 17th. If you look at New Zealand, we look at here 16th till 19th. So we have another push there, but on AUD New Zealand, you have to remember the reason why we have a lot of ranges and a little bit of difficult correlation in AUD New Zealand is AUD and New Zealand are both in the same zone. What do I mean by this? They are all affected by the same economic baselines. Economic or fundamental analysis of these two is close to similar, so it's the same area. Is like euro and GBP, so there is a power struggle between these two currencies. You will try and see how euro and GBP are different from AUD New Zealand, because they have that court currency New Zealand, but it's a little bit different from AUD. So let's try and jump to euro New Zealand, because we could have done this one last, because these two, at least in different zone, which is the euro zone, they will give us a good example. So we are looking at the beginning of August with a push to the upward side. We are looking at in the middle there with a push to the upward side, and we are looking at almost at the end there. So this gives a good example of these three impulse move to the downward side, and the last one also here, because there is a lot of ranges in the middle from 13th till around 22nd. If you look at euro New Zealand, all those are just impulse move and a big upward trend to the upward side. Why am I using 4 hours? Don't forget, if you try and go into the lower time frames on New Zealand pairs, there is a lot of pullbacks on all the time frames. So I try to use the 4-hour chart so that we can at least have a clear candles, but still you can see the big pullbacks. And on GBP New Zealand, same thing, we are looking at an upward trend. So it means for New Zealand USD, these three are positive correlations, have a positive correlation with the New Zealand the New Zealand dollar, and these three have a negative correlation. So if you're analyzing the market, try to take opportunity of those details that I've mentioned in the video. So that was the video about New Zealand correlation. So thanks for watching, guys, and keep it up. Shari FX Academy.